Hi, I'm here today with someone very special who provides an amazing service and something that I feel very deeply about and I'm very passionate about. Jennifer Ruckner of Tots to Teens Therapy. I'm Leigh-Anne with Pearson Smith Realty, and I'm excited for you to meet Jennifer today and to hear all about the services that she provides. Hi Jennifer, thank you for joining me today. I am so excited for you to meet my friends and for you to share what it is that you do and the amazing services that you provide for the children in our community. But yours is a private practice, which is kind of cool because you're able to do things that maybe public services can't provide. So I really respect what you do, and I feel very strongly about what you do. So Jennifer Ruckner of Tots to Teens Therapy, can you just tell us what are the services that you do provide, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so we provide speech therapy and occupational therapy and physical therapy, and we provide it for babies all the way through 21 while they are being able to be serviced in the schools. And then we also do feeding therapy. So we have a little niche there with feeding therapy as well.
You just named speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. So how are the three related?
So we all kind of overlap a little bit, more so speech with OT, because we work on a lot of that core that has to do with, speaking, takes a lot of breath support and things like that. So OT helps us to kind of get that piece going. They also work on a lot of the fine motor. So when we're working on the feeding piece of it, they can help with the scooping and the, some of the sensory things that kids have with the feeding that speech doesn't necessarily work on. We work more on the structure of the mouth and things like that. And then PT comes in and they work on the whole body, so they're working on, helping them with seating and movement and things like that, which of course also, the more you're moving, the better your breath support is, which also helps with speech. So we kind of all interrelate, and it makes it really fun to work together as well, because we like to collaborate a lot on our kiddos, and that I think makes us a little special in the fact that we can all work together.
Right, and I think that like with speech therapy, for the layperson, I don't think that we realize how our entire body affects our speech, right? And you were talking about the core strength and how that affects speech, and the movement affects speech and the ability to, because it's a muscle, right? So it is all related. I'm curious, how did you even get into this field? It's so, I don't know, intriguing to me. Yeah.
So for me personally, I got into it because my aunt was a speech pathologist in California, and I've always enjoyed kids. I've always worked with kiddos, babysitting and all of that, and so I knew I wanted to work with children, but it was what aspect. I knew being in a classroom probably wasn't me because I don't really want 30 kids at one time.
Right.
But I knew that I wanted to work with children in some capacity. So she actually was the one who kind of talked to me a little bit about what she did and how she did it, and it was something that I was really interested in. So that's kind of what got me started.
And you used to do this in your home, right?
I did. We initially, when we started our private practice, we really liked the model of being able to go into the family's homes or daycare or whatever setting the child is in, so that we could really involve whoever was taking care of that child to get more success with whatever we were working on. But insurance kind of tweaked that a little bit, and when they did, it meant that we had to start doing in-clinic type services. And so for a while we had a clinic in Stafford County, but then we were also doing it out of my house, which was really interesting.
But now you have your own space, right?
We do. So we have 2 spaces. We still have one in Stafford County.
Okay.
And then we have the one in Prince William County, and that's the one we just opened and got out of my house. And it is flourishing, so very happy to have that space.
And you just told me that the space you just opened, has it even been a year?
No, we opened in December, and it's June now, so.
And now you're about to occupy more space, right? So what do you feel is the biggest challenge? Because obviously you're there to provide the services, and you know, children of all ages, as you described, up to 21 years old, need the services. But what's your biggest challenge? Like what's the wedge between the two meeting? Because I'm sure there's a lot of individuals that need what you provide, but maybe don't have access or the ability, or what would that be?
There's a couple of factors, and the biggest factor, I think, well, there's 2 big factors. One factor is just the demand is so high in our area especially, but all over the United States, and we have a shortage of therapists.
Okay.
So it's really hard to meet all the needs when the schools don't have enough therapists, the private practice, the hospitals, none of us have enough therapists that are available to work. So that's one huge one, always trained to have enough employees to meet the needs. And then the other is obviously insurance. Insurance is a big factor. The reimbursement rate is extremely low. It takes a lot of finagling to figure out, you know, how to bill appropriately and ethically, and yet to get coverage and yet still be able to pay the people that work for you. So that's a big factor as well. And then, you know, people being able to get the insurance they need to cover the services. Some will, some won't, some will only give you a couple, some will give you like unlimited. So every policy is so different. It really creates a hassle for some of the families that we work with, because they think they have this full coverage, and then they find out they only have 20 visits for the year.
Right,
you know,
which 20
like
visits is not, no, it's not
It's not
sufficient.
even one, you know, not even one every other week.
Right,
So,
yeah. So you almost have to be, if you're a parent of a child that needs services, you either need to know how to advocate for yourself, or you need to have an advocate. Are there people that do that they're just an advocate for these families, so they're in between the family and you and the insurance?
So most of the time, there are advocates out there. Most of the time, advocates work, you know, like you said, on behalf of the families, and they work with them to negotiate things within the school system a lot of times, but they can also negotiate some things with the insurance. A lot of that is more the parents looking into, like when they have open season for insurance policies, you know, looking at what are the differences, what kind of coverage do they have, which is difficult because, you know, it's not just one child and their family.
Right.
There's multiple people usually that you're trying to cover the needs for. So, so that can create a challenge for families as well. But yes, the advocates can help and aid with that.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. So for me, like, I've always been very passionate about early childhood development. I'm no expert by any means, but I used to have a home daycare, and when I did, of course, I welcomed in all of the professionals. I felt like they were the experts, and if they could help me help these children, then I was all for it, right? So that's something that you would do also, or have done, is go into daycare, as you said that. Is that a challenge? Is it easy to just, if you have a child that needs your services, is it easy to get into the schools or the daycares, or how do you face that?
So so we have a contract with the county for early intervention, and that is part of their model. So their model is to go where that child is in their natural environment. So when it comes to that contract, it's pretty easy because it's just part of the contract, and people expect it, and you know, they're very willing to work with you. Privately, it's a little more challenging. We typically are not going into the school system because they already have, therapists there that cover the child. But we do a lot of collaboration with the therapist there, just so that we make sure that, we're not doing something that might oppose what they're doing at the school level, because consistency is obviously the best thing for a lot of our kiddos. Right. And so, but we do collaborate a lot with them and that sort of thing. But yeah, it can be challenging. Some of the challenges can be, if you're in the daycare, you've got more than one child and they all want to be your friend. So, so that's always a challenge. But that's reality, and being able to help whoever it is, whether it's a parent or a daycare provider, to figure out how do you work with this child when we've got 4 other kids, or we have, that's really what I consider a lot of fun, because that's what reality is, not
that's
a
real
one-on-one.
life.
Yeah,
that's real life, right? You have to deal with the logistics and kind of navigate throughout a normal day, right? Exactly. So I've been to your space, and it's kind of cool. I want to know the room that you have. I call it like the playroom. It has like mats and things like that. So tell me about that room and what it looks like and what's the purpose of it.
Sure. So that's our sensory gym. That is an area that we bring children who maybe need to get some kind of regulation going on. Maybe they're having a hard time transitioning into the clinic, or maybe they're in a therapy room and they just are done and they need a little break. So we take them into the sensory gym. It has swings, it has like you said, it has mats, so they can do flips or whatever they need to do. Sometimes going upside down is all they need to do a flip or something. We have a rock wall in there. We have a couple of they're called bolsters, but they're for climbing on and things like that.
Like the big foam vinyl cover.
Right, and they're squares and different shapes and whatnot. And then we have like a trampoline, a little basketball goal. We have an alligator on the wall that has like beads and all kinds of things for the little ones to kind of get themselves regulated again. Right. So the purpose is mainly just as a break type area, but our physical therapist obviously uses that during therapy, because there's so many things in there that she can work on to meet some of those goals.
So I think you had another space that was used to support parents, like a place where you would bring parents or caregivers, right? Tell me a little bit about that and how you provide that service to parents or caregivers to support your clients.
So we totally engage the family coming into therapy, because like I said, the more consistency that we can have, the better it is for that child. We feel like the parents are an active participant in the team. It's not just
team.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's not us as we're the know-it-alls and we can do it all, because that's not true. My clinical director loves to use the analogy that it's sort of like a diet. If you have a diet for 1 hour a week, how successful is that diet going to be?
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
It's the same thing with therapy. If we just do our 1 hour a week, it's probably not going to be as successful as a parent who's with them 24/7, who can carry it over at home.
Right.
So that's really important, is that the parents participate in the sessions. The areas that you were talking about are our feeding areas, and we highly encourage the parents to be in for those, because feeding's very complicated. There's a lot of sensory things that go into it. There's a lot of motor things that go into it, and so knowing exactly how to do that and allowing them to do it with you just gives them a lot of ownership, and it also gives them just helps them to feel like they can do this at home without us there. So that area is specifically, it's a big desk with chairs and a sink in there, so that we can wash hands and do all the things we need to for feeding. And we just really try to incorporate the families as much as we can into everything we do, because that's how it's going to support them the most.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important, because that individual is surrounded by so many people throughout the day, and family, of course, being the most important. So I love that. So you have children of your own, right?
I do.
Yes. And are they all grown, out of the house?
All of them are grown. So I have 3 grown kids. I have 2 that are biological and 1 adopted. And actually, we adopted our daughter while I was starting my practice.
Really?
I met her through our practice. So yeah. So that was kind of.
Is it hard not to take everybody home, though?
It is, but I would say that it's one of those things that I love to be able to help the families, and then I like to go home now. Now that my kids are all grown, I like to go home by myself.
Right.
But no, it's been a great career. It's been great to be able to work with so many, just families from all over the world, basically,
right,
who are in this Northern Virginia area, and that's been probably the coolest thing, I would say, is just being
we have
able
so
to
much
help
so much culture, right?
We do.
Northern Virginia is so rich with culture and different nationalities, and so that's kind of cool that you get to do that, and it must be so gratifying. So share with us, what is the, if you can, because there's probably many, but what is the most special moment, or the big, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we've accomplished this, or look at this child, or what's the most special experience that you can remember?
I would say, there's, like you said, 30 years. There's so many different places that I can pull from, but I think what touches me probably the most is, so since we work primarily with the little bitty ones more than we do, we do have a lot of older kiddos, but most of ours are, the little bitties.
Right.
And, you work with them for, months, years, whatever, but then they kind of, they go to the schools, or they go other places, or they move, or, a litany of things. And you don't really ever hear, what happens to them after you've, loved on them for.
So you may I wonder what happened to so-and-so. I wonder where so-and-so,
So what's been really thrilling for me is I've run into the grown version of some of my old clients, and to see the successes that they have now, and to talk to their parents. Like, we've had a lot of children who have autism in our program, and just to hear that, like, one of them was on a Zoom call the other day I was on, and he was at college, and just to know he's in college and doing, so well and everything was just really exciting to me. And I was down in North Carolina visiting a friend, and they were from here originally, and she had another friend there. It happened to be one of my old clients' moms, and she was like, he learned to drive, and he learned to do this, and she was so excited. And she said it all started when he was with you as a preschooler. And just hearing that it does make such a big difference, the job that you've done. You feel like it does, but when you hear from the families that it did, it just, you can't, that feeling is just unbelievable.
Really, you are the catalyst. What you do, whether it's you or, other providers, you're the catalyst of what happens for the rest of their life. The trajectory of their life begins with the services that you're providing, right? And so that has to be the most rewarding experience, to see these people in the future, right? That, wow, we really did have a major impact. Even though you know it, right? But to see proof of it, that has to be amazing.
Well, and when you've studied, like you said, early childhood development and things like that, a lot of people just don't realize how much of brain growth happens in that first 5 years.
Yes, thank you for saying that. Yes.
90% of brain growth happens in the first 5 years. Right. What we do in those first 5 years are instrumental to the trajectory of where they're going.
Yes.
And so we know that, but a lot of people, oh, that's cute that you play with kids all day. And I'm like, okay. But really, it's not just speech and OT and PT, it's the, providers who work with them. It's their preschool teachers, it's their daycare workers. It's, there's so many of us that are out there making a big impact on where these kids are going for the future,
And a lot of times, children start school at 5. Some children don't go to preschool, right? So they start school at 5. So that 0 to 5 window of their education, their early childhood education, may or may not have been missed, right? So at 5, it doesn't mean they'll never catch up, but every year it takes that much longer for them to catch up to where they should have already been, right?
Exactly.
And I don't mean academically or intellectually, I mean emotionally as well, right?
Yes, it covers the whole gamut because it covers that emotional piece, just social skills that we learn by being with other little ones, sharing.
Or not sharing. Sharing or not sharing.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But all of those things are skills that help us further in life that we learn when we're little.
Right.
That's how that works. So it's the communication, it's, problem solving, it's, the gross motor and activity things are super important too. There's just so many things.
I always say that the brain of a 0 to 5-year-old is like the internet, or like a super highway, right? And if you look is it Springfield where they have the bowl, whatever they call that? Right. So I look at the brain like that. They're adding highways, right? And that happens from 0 to 5. But from 5 on, maybe instead of 10 new road access points, there's 2.
Right.
Or instead of, you can turn left or you can go straight, it's going to get you the same destination, maybe they only have 1 now. That's how I look at it.
Yep.
So, I don't know. That's the analogy I've always said. Well, before we finish up, and I really appreciate you being here because, again, I just love what you do, and I wish more individuals would get into this profession because clearly there's a need, right?
There is.
So if you're in high school or, trying to discover your path in life, maybe just, look into this, right? OT, PT, and speech therapy. So, but before we finish, what is one piece of wisdom or piece of advice that you would give to a parent or caregiver when thinking about seeking services for their child?
I think you are the professional when it comes to your child. You know that child better than anyone else. So whatever you feel, if your gut is telling you that you need to get it checked out, get it checked out. And when you hear, oh, it's too early, don't listen to it. Go ahead and go get it checked out. Those of us who are in the field are able to tell you, oh yeah, this is too early, just give it 6 more months or give it a year. Or we might say, yep, this is the time. So, I always say that I might be the professional when it comes to speech, but I'm not the professional when it comes to your child. So you know that child and you know what their needs are. So just go with your gut and do what you feel like you need to for your child.
I think that's good advice. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.